Welcome to the Aegance Offscript Podcast, where we talk to industry leaders who share their stories, insights, and lessons, unfiltered and unscripted. I'm your host, Lawrence, and today's guest is Emmanuel, the co-founder of Muze Studios. Now, Emmanuel and his team help startups turn bold ideas into MVPs and early revenue. And today, I want to get into how he's driving that, what systems he's built, and what's next. Emmanuel, excited to have you here.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. It's a pleasure to be here.
I've obviously positioned Muze Studios to a certain degree, but maybe for the sake of the listeners, you can give us a quick high-level snapshot of what it is that you do at Muze Studios and what are your areas of operations.
So Muze Studios is a software company that is very big on helping startups to go from zero to PMF, which is product market fit. Now, as a founder myself, I've previously co-founded 3 businesses in the past. So I'm very passionate about founders. I'm very passionate about startups. So for me, Muze Studios is not just like any other typical software company that just build your product and say, oh yeah, we're done, pay us our money and leave. We are more focused on, hey, listen, how can this product make you money? Because you're not building a product for fun. You're not building it so you can just keep it under your bed. You're building it as a startup to make money, right? So we say, hey, listen, how can we test this as minimally and as affordable as possible so that you can get that early sign, early traction, early indication, early validation to say you're onto something. And only when we latch onto something that has started to show traction can we say, okay, cool, we've gotten something that is working. Now let's double down. So that's essentially the mantra of Muze Studios. Essentially, we help startups to go from zero to PMF. We help them build their products, their MVPs, and we also help business that are looking to integrate AI into their company. We help them with AI strategies and building AI automations to automate a lot of their workflow and save time and money.
Very interesting. So, Emmanuel, you're the co-founder. Talk me through your role at Muze Studios and what's the vision for the company? Where do you see yourselves in the future?
When I started the company, I was, as a founder, you're wearing all of the hats, right? So I was getting the leads, I was qualifying the leads, doing sales, talking to clients, and then I was going back into the code and writing the code, ensuring that, the client has quality code, ensuring that the client product befits or rigs of the quality that Muze Studios offer, right? So essentially that's what I do, sales, doing of the marketing, doing the deliverability and all of that. But over the past couple of months now, I've removed myself from that whole process. So operations and all of that deliverability, I've removed myself from that. And I'm now focused on more, building relationships and meeting new people, helping clients, ensuring that they're happy. Like I talk to them, I hope the vision that you have for your product, I hope it's coming to pass. I hope you can see yourself getting closer and closer to the goal you have in mind. So that's essentially what I do, more like from a visionary and strategic point of view. And then in terms of like the vision of where I see Muze Studios is going to take over South Africa for sure. That's number one. And Africa, we're going to be very competitive in Africa and in the world. Now, how are you going to do that, Emmanuel? I'm sure some of them are asking. So this is how I see Muze Studios doing that. A lot of companies, there was a research that was published literally 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken, and it says about 96% of companies having spent almost $40 billion in trying to implement AI have failed to see any ROI. Right? They've spent so much money, but there's not a single thing that AI has really done that has given them that value that they thought they would have. And the reason for that is because they've put so much expectation, so much, need that like they expect AI to do so much for them so fast that they're not trying to take on success or like work their way up it, so they end up firing staffs and, firing employees and replacing them with AI agents when you've not even understand what the role of that employee was in the first place, and make sure you take care of all the nuances, right? So how Muze is going to do this is we are going to help businesses integrate AI in a way that is very strategic, in a way that is like small batches and in success.
Yeah, very interesting. And if we dive into the vision and we drill into it in a little bit more detail, Emmanuel, has that vision evolved over the past 2 or the past couple of years, perhaps?
I think that's actually our North Star, if I'm to say, because that's the future. It's like the internet, right? So this is like the early internet days, right? And the companies that could foresee what the internet would become were the ones that benefited from it. And just like AI right now, ChatGPT is becoming mainstream. Everybody's getting used to it. Now, consumer behaviors are changing. Initially, when you call a call center, you'd have to wait for them to communicate. Or if you're texting a bot or a chat bot or whatever, they have predefined answers, right? So you're already used to this gimmick of like, yes, no, text, yes, like whatever, all of those things, right? But consumer behaviors, as we can see, is going to start to change to the point whereby people want to now talk to everything about you as if it's a conversation. So even when they're calling you, they want to feel a conversation. If they're texting on WhatsApp or if they're texting on your bot, they want to have a conversation as if they're talking to a human being. So they're now expecting that conversation-like interaction with every business. So as a business, if you're not going to be doing that, you're going to be left behind. So we are not really changing our strategy in terms of what we were looking towards. So we're still sticking to our North Star. I think what we're doubling down actually on is helping these businesses achieve success step by step, little by little, in incremental succession. Right. So that's pretty much what we'll be doing.
And have you had to navigate any tensions between speed to market and quality?
I think that's a highly debatable topic in the startup world. Because they say, especially from YC Combinator or Y Combinator rather, they say move fast and break things. But I've also seen several founders, even in YC or out of YC, that say, listen, at the end of the day, the best way to build a big business is to just build it slow and solid, right? And we in Africa, we're in a point whereby, actually, we're not even in a point. We've always been like this. We were just trying to copy Silicon Valley in the first place, but we're never like Silicon Valley. Africa is not Silicon Valley. South Africa is not Silicon Valley. So we shouldn't try to want to move fast and break things. It doesn't work that way. Like the consumers here are different from the consumers in the United States. Consumers in the United States are just sporadic. They want to spend and spend and spend. Consumers in Africa, they're very conservative. So if you don't prove enough strong value, they're not going to up and start using it or start paying you, for your product. So I think what we would do in that case, based on what you said, is yes, when you're testing, move fast, right? When you're testing when you're testing an idea, move fast. Prototype. Don't spend 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 building a product that you don't yet know what it's supposed to do. That is very shocking. I've seen people say that and do that. And I'm like, okay, what is it going to do? What's the value? Oh, it's going to do 1, 2, 3. Okay, what will I pay for to use this software? You will pay for all this feature. I don't want all this feature. Everybody's doing everything. I don't want that. I want one thing that would work so well that I know when I want to do this particular task, I know where to go. Do you understand? So if you're testing, use tools. My favorite tool to use is Tempo AI. I have a checklist for the best AI stack to use if you're a non-technical person. So my favorite to use is Tempo. You use Tempo with ChatGPT. You build up the first. You build out a landing page. So you build out a landing page. You validate it by running maybe 50 rands or 100 rands or 200 rands ads for like 3 days to see who clicks and who wants the idea. From there, you build the product using the Tempo AI, and it should have just one feature of the idea you have in mind, and then email it to those people that signed up. And then once they've signed up, go follow up with them and say, hey, did you sign up? Did you check it out? What do you think? And then get the feedback from them. Tell them, okay, please use this app. It's for free for now, whatever. And let me know what you think. And get those feedback from them. And only once you've gotten a solid feedback based on the idea you had initially, that you can now go and say, okay, now let's code it out properly, because you still need a good foundation. There's no point in building something under an unstable foundation. You're just going to crash and you could get sued, especially with the way we are going. Cybersecurity is going to be very important. So if you don't take security into play, by the time you're done and you don't go and build a solid foundation, after really launching and getting traction, the rock gets swept under your feet.
If we have a look at your strategy, what would you say is the biggest strategic shift or even the biggest strategic innovation that you've introduced at Muze recently? And what were the early results or surprises that came from that?
One of the biggest strategies or the biggest approach we are using, especially when it comes to the founders we work with or the businesses we work with, is they have a lot of problems, right? But the solution here is not just building something for them. The solution is what to build for them. And a lot of the times, many software companies actually cannot actually provide value or justify the value of a product they've built. You understand? Because if you look at it, it's like, okay, it's doing this, but it's doing it slow, or it's not doing it enough, or it's not doing it well enough to bring a very good ROI. You understand? So I think what we do differently is we actually want to understand like the customer, we want to understand the business, we understand the founder. What problem are you solving? Right? Like if you had just one sentence to tell me what problem it is, can you tell me what problem it is? You know, and if they're able to tell you what that single problem is, we build around that. And we move so fast, like in less than 3 weeks, we can build you with. So if we're using code, we can build it in less than 3 weeks. If you're a non-technical person using AI, you could build it in like 4 days, you know, or 1 week max. Right. But if you're a technical person, or even if you're not technical, but you want a good foundation, we could build it in less than 6 weeks. So we say, okay, cool, this problem we want to solve, well, let's build around that problem, and then let's put it in market. Don't do anything else. Don't add features, nothing fancy, don't add anything else, you know, and then let people use the platform and then hear what they say, you know, and then based on that, we can then fine tune. So I think that's one of the biggest strategies we're implementing.
And if, Emmanuel, we look internally at the way that Muze Studios operates, what internal systems or processes have you implemented that you've seen others benefit from?
This is going to be very controversial, but I'm going to say it. I think I'm starting to like controversial stuff. So I hope it's not too bad. But one of the things I've noticed is every single, almost like 90% or 80% of people that I've met, especially founders, usually have bad experience with service providers, right? They usually have bad experience with some software companies. And essentially what they do is they, you know, whether there's no proper documentation or there's just slow process, there's no communication, there's no proper onboard, like you are lost, you know. And now from the business perspective or from the software company's perspective, I can understand, because sometimes work gets too hectic, especially if you're from a technical background, you just want to code. You know, the other admin stuff, the other operational stuff, streamlining operations, sometimes it's not something you think about. So you don't know how frustrating it would be from the client's perspective. You know, so when they express that, you're like, okay, but I'm building a product, it's taking me time, there's this bug and all. You know, so that really frustrates founders and the rest. So what I've done in Muze Studios, and this is something that it took me a bit of a while, actually. So what I did was, first of all, I understood what our process was. I mapped out a journey. I said, okay, cool. I did sales, or I did a lead, I converted a lead, and now we're chatting, we're engaged. You know, how does the lead, or how does the founder flow from the initial discovery phase all the way to the handover stage? And I map out this process. I created several documents and SOPs, you know, that outline all the steps, so that even if someone new joins the company, they can see all the documents and say, okay, this client is currently at this process. The next process is that. They don't have to ask me. They don't have to ask anyone. They can already see the next process, and you just take the client through the different stages. So take the founders through the different stages. So I mapped out that process, but obviously before I mapped it out, I have to actually understood how the workflow, how the workflow works, and how the founder goes through the journey, and then I, you know, documented all of the process and put it in the company SOPs. So that is one strategy, or that is the operational strategy we implemented to streamline process. So right now, if someone comes and say, oh, Emmanuel, I need your help, my assistant or, you know, someone in operations will go to say, okay, cool, they're in discovery phase, send them this form to complete. Oh, they filled the form, they indicated this, send them this, you know. So there's just proper steps to follow.
And how do you keep those systems flexible as the client's needs change?
So if the client needs to change a certain thing, there's a feedback loop, right? So during the middle part of the journey, there's a constant reiterative feedback loop that happens, right? So we're constantly getting feedback like, hey, are you happy? Hey, is there anything that needs to change? Hey, did your alignment change or something? You know, we're always just getting like that constant feedback loop from them. And that way we can refine the process specifically for them. Right. So if they're complaining about, okay, but I want this to be done shorter, is there a way to make it shorter? Then we're like, okay, cool, this is how we can make it shorter. Or if they say, okay, cool, I want to launch, can you guys help me with maybe branding now, or put a market video? Because we can help them with like launching it. You know, those intro videos that they're like introducing like this, and then we can help them do that, you know, launch and things like that. So depending on what what changes, we're able to always just have a feedback loop where we used to just fine tune the communication or the interaction with the founders.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like those feedback loops are critical, and that just allows you to be agile in your approach. Are there any practical failures or lessons that you'd be able to share that shaped how the process works today?
Yes. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you a before and after. So there was a founder that we wanted to help. This was in March, and when she came to us, she was like, "Oh, I need this to be done. 1, 2, 3." I'm like, "Okay, cool." We like to follow MVP approach. That means we like to build something in 6 weeks. So for us to build something in 6 weeks, you need to build actually something that 100% you just want the customers to use. So it's just your single focus. So like, okay, no, but I want this, this, this. I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, sometimes the customer is always right, or so we say, okay, cool, we're going to do that. But you have to be very cognizant of the timeline because they want it to be done in that 6 weeks. I'm like, because there's some be cognizant of time. And then the moment we started, there was like when we got to the middle, there was like feedback of, okay, add this, add that, add this. I'm like, okay, cool. The more we kept adding, the more the timeline started increasing. And something that was supposed to take 6 weeks ended up taking almost I think 16 weeks or 14 weeks. So it was like way longer than budgeted for, and it was kind of pain for both parties. But eventually, we had to find a way to just make it work. And I think that was one of probably the biggest indication or lesson to make you say, hey, listen, like we can't do that anymore. Like, not just the fact that it's frustrating for the founders, it's also frustrating for us because we want to move fast as well. And we want to quickly get you to the point where you need to go. So that was what facilitated the documentation process. And then after the documentation process, we had another founder that wanted a mobile app. And typical mobile apps that would take 3 months or 4 months to develop, we got it done in 1.5 months because of like step-by-step process. Do you understand? So that's pretty much like a literal clear difference between not having a documented process and having a documented process.
Yeah, makes sense. And it sounds like there's a lot of really great value that Muze Studios can be giving to its client base. But of course, sourcing clients is always a challenge for any business, whether it's a startup or it's been operating for 5-10 years. How are you finding and winning new clients in today's landscape?
So so like I communicated earlier, I mostly focus on building relationships, right? Relationships are the backbone of business. It's literally used to be called business relationships. Okay, I think not business relationship. I think just relationships. So basically, it's all relationship, right? People do business with who they like. People do business with who they trust, and you need to establish that trust. But again, you shouldn't be greedy. I think we're getting to a generation whereby people are starting to be very greedy. Like they just want themselves first. They just want to say, how much can you pay me now? Like when are you going to pay me? Like they want to first satisfy themselves, before their client. And I can understand why they will do that. But I think for you to really get success, you need to be passionate about other people's problems. And for me, I think that's one thing I have. I have very deep passion. Like I get excited. Sometimes I get too excited that I almost feel like it's my personal project. So obviously I try to restrain myself so I don't get too connected on an emotional level, but I do get very passionate about every founder that I work. I get passionate about the project. There was a founder that I built a project for who were done in probably first 2 months. And 6 months later, they're not launching. I'm like, God, why? Like launch. Like, no, we need to make sure this, it doesn't matter. Launch. We would get everything right. Nothing is perfect immediately. Just launch. And they never launched. And that is exactly not the kind of people exactly not the kind of way I want to work. Because again, like I said, I don't want to build a product and you're going to put it in the shelf. Like, why did I spend 1 month, 2 months, 3 months building that project, and then you put it in the shelf? Like it's supposed to make you money or make your life easier or make your business, better. So why would you keep it in the shelf or give me an excuse and say, oh no, and it's your business, it's not my business, it's your business. And I'm like so excited for you to launch. You're like, no, let's make this nice. Let's change this color. Let's shift this thing to the left. Let's change the price of it. So So yeah, I think one of the best strategies is building relationships. So going to events, meeting people for coffee, just approach people. If you're an introvert, that's going to be difficult. But I think if you just close your eye and just summon the courage, you can probably make it work. And then like just be passionate, be genuinely passionate. Like don't fake it. Like if you know you can't be passionate, find someone that can be passionate about it, and then let them do the talking to the clients. Because we as humans, we can tell if someone's lying. And even if we can't tell if someone's lying, we can sense it. We can know if someone's being fake. You know when someone's not being genuine with you. So if you're saying, "Oh yes, I will help you," and you're like, "Okay, where's my money?" Like they can tell. So be passionate about it. Love what they're doing. Be excited about it. In fact, for you to show you're excited, do research and tell them more ways that the product is going to benefit people or they're going to make more money. That way they will know that you're not just even talking about building the project now. You're talking about expanding. You're talking about how they can even grow and benefit. And for that, they would really, it'll build a lot of trust between you guys.
Yeah, I think that's really sound advice. And just to echo your sentiment, obviously building and nurturing relationships is core to business, but also core to life. I think networking and going to in-person events probably only gets you so far. What other channels are you using to knock on doors and to open doors so that you get the opportunity to nurture a relationship? Nurturing is sort of the second step of a relationship, a professional relationship. You need to be, as I say, you need to be knocking on doors and generating that initial interest so that the nurturing can begin. What channels are you using to try and knock on doors and open doors?
Okay, so there's three of them that comes to mind immediately. The first one is referrals. So when you do something, do good work first of all. Do good work. Like even if you don't do good work yet, show that you're trying to do good work. Do you understand? Maybe for example, you're not a good, like for example, now I have a good eye for design, but I'm not a good designer, but I'm a fairly excellent engineer, right? So I can build you sophisticated, complex systems. Cool. But my design eyes is not very beautiful. Fine. So if you say I should design something, I wouldn't design it nicely. But now I've got someone that can design it better than me. You understand? So I will try to do good work for you. I'll try to make sure I find someone that can give you something very beautiful. So that's it. So yes, my skill might lack in the design part, but now I've gone to look for someone that has way better design than me, maybe 10x or 20x design skill than me. And then that person will make sure that the work is good. So even if you're not good, try to do good work, right? When you do good work, you would get referrals, right? People will just automatically say, okay, cool. Emmanuel built it for me, at Muze Studios, and like, oh, cool, let me check them out. And then or if they don't even say anything, maybe for example, a client doesn't want to, maybe they don't like you, because sometimes it's normal for it's poor people, right? So sometimes maybe they don't like you, whatever, for some reason or the other, but they like to work with you. If you do good work so much so that even if they don't want to talk about you, because your work was so good, when someone asks them, wow, who built your site? Who built your company? Who built your product? Well, obviously they can't lie. So they're going to say, yeah, it's that guy. Yeah, it's Muze Studios. They don't like you, but you did good work and people are talking about it. So they're like, yeah, it's him. It's him. Yeah, you can. It's good. It's good. So that's how much, credit you can get from doing that. Now, the second one is partnerships. So partnership is essentially you find, this is something that actually I've been also been looking at and it's actually working for us really well now. We've partnered with a few companies across the US and South Africa. And also we are in some talks with some in Australia. So essentially what that is look for companies that have synergy with you, right? So in this case, let's say, for example, Aegance is a consulting company, right? So they consult with business and say, hey, listen, I think you might need to integrate AI in this space so that you can save this time. Or I think you need to build this software. You're wasting time here. You're wasting money here. Build this thing. And, that's how typically consulting companies work, right? They give you consulting like strategy and things like that. And then you can partner with, or Muze Studios can partner with Aegance and say, okay, cool. For your technical requirements, for things that you want to be done, like from a technical perspective, Muze Studios can handle it for the clients. Do you understand? Or you go to a different consulting company that does whatever legal, whatever it is, as long as it's a consulting company, or if it's a marketing company, you can meet marketing companies. So, okay, cool. You've got clients that want websites or that want to do marketing campaigns. But many times they also come with requirement like, but I also want to build this project or this thing. And you can't build this project. You don't have the engineering expertise. You don't have any skills to build it. You can partner, right, with tech companies or with software companies for them to get the work done. So in that case, you both are exploring profit sharing or some form of revenue split or whatever. So like always, look into partnership, check your industry, which relevant partnership would make sense for you, whether it's in marketing, whether it's consulting, whatever it is, there's always opportunity for you to partner with different companies. There's even bigger companies that can't do smaller projects. Let's say, for example, Intellect would never take a project that is not like 100K, or maybe 50K. Like to them, it might be too small because they work with Capitec and the rest. So you can just say, okay, cool, you meet Intellect, and if you can get in touch with them, and then they give you those projects. And yeah, you can go from there. And then the final one is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, you need to build your personal brand. And actually, I'm just going to say personal brand / LinkedIn, because I like to build my personal brand on LinkedIn. Any other place that I'm building personal brand is just for me when I'm not in work mode. So, but LinkedIn is where I build my personal brand for work. And essentially, what you want to do is you want to build yourself as an authority figure or someone that people can trust when it comes to your industry. So if it's tech, if it's startups, whatever it is, just you post constant content that is relevant, you post consistently, and then you reach out to people. Just don't say, hey, I do this. Let me build this. Like, no, like remember at the end of the day, your job as a founder, or rather in my case as a CTO or whatever, or CEO, is to help people solve their problems, right? So they have a problem. They're not just trying to build a web app. If you tell them, okay, I'll help you build a web app, I'll help you build a mobile app, that does nothing for them. But then if they've been struggling with something for the past 2 weeks and you say, hey, listen, I'm going to solve that problem of yours and still give you money. What? So you need to engage in genuine conversations, organic conversation with these people. There's definitely lots of people that are not going to talk to you on LinkedIn. That's completely fine. I ignore them. Like, they're going to come back later. I usually tell them, these guys are going to find me later, but I'll probably be too hard to reach. But yeah, you want to reach out to as much people as you can, engage in genuine conversation with them, chat with them, say, hey, how you doing? Just connecting. Oh, how's your week been? Oh, cool. What are you working on? Awesome. That's exciting. Did you do it? Nice. Have we tried it? So just give them some freebies here and there. If that's your field, suggest things that might work for them. For example, if someone is trying to build a medical app, for example, like, oh yeah, you have to take security very seriously. Have you tried to do this? Have you tried to do that? Things like that. And then from that, they can start building trust in you. Cut over weeks, maybe a few weeks, a month, 2 months, And then one day they might tell you, oh, I actually have this problem that I'm trying to solve, Or you tell them, hey, how would you solve the problem that is, whatever, something will spark the conversation, And from there you can just, the rest is history. You can take it from there.
Yeah. And if we look at client acquisition on a bit more of a macro level, South Africa is obviously your immediate market. And you mentioned briefly at the beginning of the podcast that, you did do some operations and in the rest of Africa. What are those markets? What are some of the markets that you're entering, hoping to enter? What do the growth plans look like for Muze?
Okay, so of course I can't give too much details on that because I don't, it's still like in play. But we are currently in the United States and in Australia. The United States clients, brilliant clients. Australian clients, we're learning them. We are about to go into the UK market as well. So that's something. So I think basically right now, the strategy is to just build relationships with founders in those areas, right? Establish relationships with them. And also like I said, partnership. So partnership with tech companies there, because they much of their cost comes from like hiring developers. So if they can work with a company where the cost can be offset, that's a lot of value for them. So, we're having conversations with them and we're just trying to build that rapport. And yeah, that's pretty much in terms of like expansion, what it looks like. I can't say too much here, like I said, but yeah, it's on the horizon. It's quite bright there. It's lighting up.
Well, that sounds super exciting, and I obviously wish you the best with all of those. And we won't dive into it in too much more detail. But what is quite interesting is that as your footprint grows, of course, the team needs to grow as well. So on the team side, how are you going about recruiting, retaining, and scaling your culture, especially if the footprint is going global? It means there are just more, team members who are potentially remote, working out of office, and you are losing that sort of interpersonal connection between your team. How do you go about managing that?
That's a very good question, Lawrence. That's a very good question. So the interesting is, I think the culture of Muze Studios is quite. I'm not sure if bizarre is the word. We already know something is happening. Like something is happening with work culture and work in general. People haven't paid attention yet because AI is like occupying all the space, but something is happening with work culture, and you can see from like late millennials or even early millennials, Gen Z. Okay, Gen Alpha, they're still in school, so they're not yet out. But Gen Z, a lot of them, their mindset about work is completely different from what their parents and grandparents, have, like completely different. So, but people are not yet paying attention to that. But it's going to be very shocking when they wake up one day and Gen Z is like, hey, listen, if this work doesn't align with my faith or it doesn't align with my strategy, not for me. Do you understand? And people, they think, oh, you get over yourself. You get over yourself. Like, that's what people say. But like, that's the truth. That's the future where we're going. So what we are doing at Muze is we've already, or I should say, I've seen that would be the case in the coming future. And I've identified that. And I tell my employees, people I work with, I tell them, listen, guys, first of all, there are two things. You came to life to live life, to enjoy life. And, one of the elements or tools that help you have that kind of life is money, right? So money is a very good motivation across the box of, all rounder, basically. So I don't just motivate them with money. I tell them, listen, so this is how a typical interview would look like at Muze. And I'm giving this tip here in case 4 years down the line or 3 years down the line, someone now wants to join and they saw this podcast. So this is how it works actually. I ask you, cool. What is your number? What is the number that makes you like, I'm good. I've gotten it. Well, what is that number? Like, and be realistic. Give me a good number that is very comfortable, like it's good for you, and then the number that is like very idealistic, like you hope to get a number, and if you get it, like that's beyond the dream, And I get that number, and I say, okay, cool. How can we work around those numbers to get there? So whether you're coming in as sales, you're coming in as engineering, you're coming as operations, you think to yourself, how can I maximize my skills in this department to quickly get to the number I want to reach, right? And then I give you freedom. So in the past, my first two startups, I unfortunately have to confess and say I was micromanaging, right? I used to look down the neck of my employees. Every one of them said, okay, what are you working on? What did you do yesterday? What did you do today? What are you going to do tomorrow? What's the feedback? What's the update? What's the feedback? What's the update? And it's also overbearing, of course, But of course, I made that realization. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm almost, because I've also worked for other companies in the past when I was an employee, and I've seen how toxic, some employees can get, where I would wake up in the morning and I'd be getting anxiety just to start work. And I'm like, oh my goodness, are you telling me that there's a high chance I could have been like this with someone, And I was like, nah, I can't do that. So what I decided to do is, at Muze Studios, we don't control how you work. You work as you want, right? You work as you want when you want, right? You just have the outcome. So it's more of an outcome-based requirement or work environment. So I don't say, okay, you must do 1, 2, 3. I just say, hey, listen, I need to get here. However way you're going to do it, whether you're going to take a plane, a jet, whatever, doesn't matter. But I need to get there. That's my outcome. I'm not going to dictate the route for you. You can decide what route you're going to take, but that's my outcome, and that's it. So it's more of an outcome-based work environment, right? And that way, it facilitates thinking. So even if you're not with the team or you're not in the office, you know that I'm striving to make this certain amount of money, or I'm striving to grow to a certain point in life. So I need to either move fast or move quicker or move bigger, whatever. Or as a salesperson, you're saying, okay, cool, I don't want to be closing deals that are 50K or 100K. I want to be closing deals that are 500K and a million. Do you understand? So you think differently, you move differently, and you have autonomy, and you can always like come back to me and say, okay, Emmanuel, I'm stuck here. What do I do? and we brainstorm, So I think with that, a lot of my employees, they get very motivated. They get very excited, because I don't beg them. It's your life, right? It's your life. You're here to control your life. You're already like your own boss. No one controls you. No one forces you to do anything. You already have a lot of autonomy. So if you're failing, it's on you, and especially when you're not reaching out. So if you want to take this seriously, I'm here. I'm here to help you, and I'm here to move forward with you. So that way, like I said, they're very pumped up, and they do the work without much effort or without much chasing around or whatever.
Yeah, very interesting. Your comment about asking in an interview process what's your number reminds me of a quote from Daniel H. Pink's book Drive, where he basically suggests that the best use of money as a motivator is to hire great people and then pay them enough to take the issue of money off the table. So it's a very pertinent comment and very apt question to ask someone in an interview process. I'm quite interested to know, Emmanuel, it sounds like there's a lot going on within Muze. Tell me, what is working super well at Muze at the moment? And conversely, what is working against you right now?
I think what is working for us right now. Okay, let me start with the negative. Negative is, what is not working for us is, or personally for me, is sometimes I'm still trying to like do a lot of things because I'm technical. I still want to supervise the code. I mean, I trust my employees and I call them colleagues. I like to call them colleagues. I trust them, But sometimes I'm like, okay, cool. Let me just see what you've done. Let me see the code. Let me test it on my side. Let me do all of that. Let me write some code. I even write code. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take off the back end. And then someone's going to take over. So I think that is also sometimes eating out of my time where I can focus on actually building relationships, spending time going for coffee, talking to people, seeing how I can help and be of value to people. So if I can, I've already implemented processes and people to take that off my neck. But as a person, I still find myself going back to say, hey, what's up? What did you do? Let me check it out. I'm not yet completely taking my eyes off it. So I think I need to trust that I can take my eyes off it. So if not, it's just we're never gonna grow beyond where we want to grow. So that's number one. And then number two, I think in terms of like I think still understanding where to contribute as much value. Sometimes because of the fact that many times, actually from a business perspective, they might not know what they want. So if you have to first explain to them what they want and show them a proof of how what you are trying to explain to them is going to provide value before you can finally now start providing the value. Do you understand? So I think if we can get that process a bit faster, that would really help also, in the company. And then what is working for us is just overall, speed of the team, our very agile, we move fast, and also the relationship we've built or are building, the client base we've had or we have, it's getting thicker. It's getting thicker. We're building a strong brand, right? We're building a strong brand. So I think in the next couple of months, all you can hear now would be Muze. Oh yeah, Muze Studios. Oh yeah, Muze Studios. We even built an in-house product. It's called Swift Booked. It's an appointment booking application that lets people to book appointments with their stylist directly on WhatsApp without the stylist ever responding, right? So you can text your stylist on WhatsApp, say, hey, I want to come book my hair on Friday for 5:00. And the Swift bot, which is what our AI agent will say, hey girl, awesome. Okay, cool. We've put in the time. What time do you want to come in? Saturday or Friday or what, all of that. And then books you in, you make payment, and then the stylist gets the appointment on their calendar and on their WhatsApp without them ever doing anything. So it's going to be a game changer. I think it's going to take a lot of people in Africa and in South Africa by surprise. They're going to wake up one day and like, oh yeah, everybody's using Sweetbook now. No one texts or call anymore. Like, I don't have time to be talking to my stylist. She doesn't pick my calls. Sometimes she tells me I'll call you back. I don't want her to call me back. I just text and that's it, done. So that's working. We're getting traction there. We're getting some traction and some movement there. Our client base or our users are increasing as well. So that's something as well.
Yeah, very cool. And being a founder, I found myself quite often wide awake at 4 a.m. in the morning because there's an issue that's obviously pertinent enough and been on my mind for long enough that it's waking me up at this hour, and I just feel suddenly feel the need to I have to get online, I have to start fixing it. Are there any things that are keeping you up at night or waking you up early at night or early in the morning? Pardon me.
This will sound very crazy. It's the small stuff. Like it's the small stuff that keeps me, like, for example, blogs, writing blogs, optimizing the content, creating the meta tags. It feels like it's like I'm the only one that can do it, which normally it's not supposed to be the case, but it feels like I'm the one that I can do it. So again, time that I would use in, just because I've spoken to my team and I'm like, guys, listen, like going forward, I really don't care what's happening. I don't want to look at code. I don't want to look at anything. I just want to build relationship. I just want to talk to people. I just want to talk to founders, talk to business owners. I don't want to be asking you what's happening. Like, do the communication and send it to the client via email or WhatsApp, but don't involve me. So sometimes the fact that I sometimes get involved, and before you know it, I'm thrown into the deep end.